Bottom line with him, whether it's a shot or, personality or whatever it might be, there is no guarantee he's a top 3 pick or even a top 5 pick. He's a threat to fall. That's just the reality. I just said how Okongwu is somebody drawing interest from Charlotte at number 3. If Edwards goes 1, if Wiseman goes 2, Okongwu goes 3, where does LaMelo go? I had a phone call earlier today with somebody who works in the league for a team, and he and I talked a lot about LaMelo, and there are a lot of people that wonder if he could fall outside the top 5. And Rick Bonnell, a Hornets writer, reported today that he hasn't done well in interviews. I'm not sure what to make of that report, but I've heard similar that he hasn't done great in these interviews and workouts and all that. So LaMelo, as talented as he is, some teams are looking at this situation as maybe it's best to hit a single or hit a double rather than swing for the fences and possibly whiff. And with LaMelo, there's that threat for him more than there is for some other guys in that top 10 conversation. And with LaMelo, it would not shock me one bit, and it should shock nobody if he goes 1 or if he goes 8. It could happen with him because the reality is the mainstream conversation says he's top 3, consensus, blah, 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 blah. There's no consensus. Some people have him ranked 10 on their board. Some people have him ranked 2. Some people have him ranked 7. There is no consensus. But if he falls past Charlotte at 3, I'd like to know where you think he goes, because you look at Chicago, look at all the guards that they have. And they also really like Denny Avdia at 4. You look at 5 with Cleveland. Sounds like they really like some of the wings in this draft. They also have Garland, who they took last year, and Colin Sexton the year before. You get to 6, Atlanta. I mean, maybe they're a situation where they trade down and someone trades up for LaMelo. Who knows? But the fact is LaMelo could fall outside the top 3 when everybody's been talking about him as that guy.
Boy, I'll tell you this, Kev. That makes me think that we thought with LaMelo, and then we will see in the coming years. But you take those 2 kids that were amazing high school recruits, LaMelo Ball and RJ Hampton. And I look at I hear what you're saying right now, and I look at these draft boards and I say, look, I was totally supportive. Go make your money. Do what you want to do. But there is no question, if you're right about that, and he does drop, and I see where Hampton is, that they would have absolutely been better off playing American college basketball for their draft stock. I'm just saying for their draft stock, right? For their draft stock. There's no doubt in my mind both of them would have been absolutely awesome in college. But they went and decided to play over in the NBL in RJ Barrett.
A man's league. A lot of hard-nosed players in that league.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're full-grown men, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot to take on, and I don't think that you should be crucified for not playing great over there as a kid straight out of high school, going from the friggin' Peach Jam where you're playing against a bunch of high school kids to going and playing against some 30-year-old guy who, right? I think it's a big step up, but I mean, now with what you're saying, if that's so, it's hard for me to believe that LaMelo Ball and RJ Hampton would have gone and played it wherever, UCLA and Texas Tech or Memphis for that matter. And, dude, people are every clip I see is of James Wiseman like playing Oregon. Memphis. There's like a 5-game sample size of his Memphis career, but like people look to it and are impressed by it, right? And that was such a small sample size. These guys, if they would have gone and played big-time college basketball somewhere, I can't help but think that their draft stock would have been better than what it is as it stands right now. And boy, I didn't realize that was going on with LaMelo. I thought he was in everybody's top 5.
No.
Have you turned on him?
Not. I mean, I've never loved him. I like him, and I think I talked with Bill Simmons about this on his pod this week. With LaMelo, the appeal is you have this wizard playmaker, who can make passes that so many players can never dream of making. But he also has never proven that he can be a reliable shooter. He has never proven that he can be a reliable decision maker because his shot selection is very poor. He has never proven he can be a reliable defender. He is, aloof off ball. His effort is poor. And personality-wise, in terms of leadership, as a point guard, you like to have leadership qualities. And there's questions about that being there, too, and how long might it take to develop.
I'm watching the wrong videos. He looks pretty damn good to me.
I mean, he's a good prospect, but I'm just saying, like, that's what I mean. Like, some teams are like, maybe we should try to hit a double or hit a single instead of swing for the fences. Maybe this is a year not to do that.
I think the total opposite. I think this is the year to take the risk.
I mean, some teams feel that way.
Yeah.
But a lot don't. A lot look at this draft and they're like, we can get a good player. End of story. Like, we can get a good player who maybe exceeds expectations, or we can get a guy that might suck or could be great. Like, there's a wide range of possibilities.
Are you saying my draft article, if I wrote it this year, would be insanely popular because it's just a bunch of teams that want players that aren't going to suck?
I mean, it might be, Chris, because there's a lot. Look, there's a lot of players in this class, man, that I'm like, yeah, he's going to be a good player. He's going to be a good player. He's gonna be a winning player and a contender someday. Yeah. A lot of guys like that. With LaMelo, he could be a star if that jumper develops, or he could be a guy that it's like, if only he could shoot at like 38% from three.
But in fairness, you would say he is in the very small handful of guys that you would say, I could see him being a star.
Oh, yeah.
It's not plentiful in this draft. This draft is not plentiful of guys. Like say, and you just juxtapose that from the last couple of years. Even Michael Porter Jr., we all sat there and said, bro, if it hit, like, you could see him becoming a star in the NBA. Like, you could. And I know there was the injury thing, but I mean, he got drafted, tail end of the lottery.
I'll tell you what, when it comes to the draft, I had one GM I talked to months ago say to me, I don't get why everybody's talking about LaMelo as a top 3 pick. I don't get this. And it feels like those conversations didn't happen at all with anybody else until like the past 2 weeks. And now those conversations are happening a lot more often about, like, where is LaMelo going to go?
Interesting.
Whereas Wiseman seems to be clearly, in all likelihood, a top 3 pick, whereas Edwards, in all likelihood, a top 3 pick. But with LaMelo, there's not that certainty quite as much as there may have previously been. And we'll see, man. Like, maybe Minnesota shocks everybody and just takes a number 1. Like, it can happen. But we don't know. And he is a threat to fall, and that's why I think that we haven't heard a lot.
I can't help but wonder. The brother hit about 2 shots in the whole damn bubble. And if Lonzo would have been awesome and the Pelicans end up getting that playoff spot, I know we shouldn't do that, but I can't help but think that the intense failure of Lonzo and the perception that everybody has, his stock can't be lower than it's been in a long time on the brother.
And I think Lonzo is kind of a cautionary tale about the challenges of improving your jump shot. He changes his mechanics and he has a better year working, with Fred Vincent, the Pelicans shooting coach. And then he goes to the bubble and it all falls apart. And, shooters can go through good stretches, but then their mechanics go away.
Yep.
And with LaMelo, he enters the NBA, I think, a better shooter than Lonzo did when he entered the league. But the concerns are there with the jumper. He does need to make some foundational changes to the way he shoots and the way he sets his feet and his consistency with his shot. There's a lot of question marks. He's never shot high from the free throw line. It's not like he's an 85% free throw shooter. He's a low 70% a low 70% free throw shooter. He's like a high 20% 3-point shooter. Spot up or off the dribble.
And look, we're not speaking out of school here. There's a lot that comes with him. The friggin' dad's going to be on, he's going to be on First Take, and then he's going to be on with Stephen A.
It's all part of the equation.
Ranting and raving. The kid, he's been in and out of the high school. They went overseas, and they played over in Lithuania or whatever the hell he did, and then he went down and played in Australia. I mean, he does not have your normal story, right, of a kid.
You're not drafting Tyrese Halliburton. Who's a basketball player.
This kid was a YouTube star at 12 as this mini-mite who's pointing to where he's going to shoot it, 10 feet behind the 3-point line. Like, I remember my son doing that while we were out on a court. This is when my son's probably 6 years old, 7 years old, whatever it was, whenever he started watching YouTube. And he pointed to the ground and shot from there. I said, what is that? And he said, that's what LaMelo did. I'm like, LaMelo?
Don't do that.
But he had watched highlight videos. Like, I mean, this kid has been having highlight videos. How hard is it to have your head on straight if people have been watching your highlight videos since the time you're 11, you know?
Bottom line with him, whether it's a shot or, you know, personality or whatever it might be, there is no guarantee he's a top 3 pick or even a top 5 pick.